Right, now let's get into the good stuff. So how did these decisions around capital allocation impact growth rates for these two companies? So as I mentioned at the beginning, Salesforce starts off this 11-year time frame at an ARR run rate of about 85 million. HubSpot starts this at about 105 million as their starting point. As we can see on this chart here, Salesforce starts out much hotter than HubSpot in terms of ARR growth rate. So they're growing north of 80% for the first 3 years. HubSpot, on the other hand, is hovering somewhere between 50 and 60% during that time frame. Then that tails off for both organizations, culminating in a large dip in 2010 for Salesforce. Now, again, this is probably in response to macro conditions, probably in response to what was happening in terms of the GFC. And then they recover those growth rates and it stabilizes at around about 30%. HubSpot, on the other hand, sees this big uptick during the kind of COVID growth boom era, returning to 50% ARR growth rates. And then, like most SaaS orgs over the last couple of years, have seen those growth rates trend downwards pretty aggressively over the last few years. Now, when we map these ARR growth rates onto a net new ARR chart, we can start to see some pretty big disparities year to year. Now, as we can see here in this analysis, there's only 1 year across these 11-year timeframes in which HubSpot adds more net new ARR than Salesforce does. And that's in the peak COVID boom era of 2021. So they added about 400 million in net new ARR versus 341 million for Salesforce in that overlapping period. So aside from that, it's a clean sweep for Salesforce, right? And that culminates in this massive delta in the final year where Salesforce adds almost $1 billion in net new ARR in that final year of analysis. Now, when we turn that kind of net new ARR chart into an ARR run rate chart over time, we can see that the gap just kind of continues to widen year after year for Salesforce, right? So Salesforce ends this 11-year comparison period at 3.8 billion in ARR. HubSpot sits at 2.6 billion over the 11-year period. That gives Salesforce compound annual growth rate of 41%, and HubSpot gets a CAGR of 34% over those 11 years.